theological argument with the Pope. I feel like
smart.
Well,
Yeah.
Blessed are the peacemakers. But you know, in my Bible, King David prays for his men. He prays for God to deliver victory. Joshua prayed for his men in battle, prayed for deliver victory. Moses prayed for his men, prayed to deliver victory. So it's hard for me to find fault for Pete for praying for his soldiers.
Well, let me just give
A MAGA pundit, a live panel, and a question she never saw coming.
Blessed be the Lord, my rock, who trains my hands for war and my fingers for battle. Pour out your wrath upon those who plot vain things and blow them away like chaff before the wind. Give them wisdom in every decision, endurance for the trial ahead, unbreakable unity, and overwhelming violence of action against those who deserve no mercy. May Almighty God continue to bless our troops in this fight.
There's a long history of U.S. military leaders actually trying to avoid this sort of thing, because the idea is that what differentiates us from, you know, the radical Islamic regime and others around the world is that we're not fighting a holy war. We're fighting a war for civilization, for people of all faiths, etc. So when he blurs that line, it is causing concern among some people in and outside of the military.
I mean, he's a man of faith. I think he's seen brothers and sisters that he was over with in the Middle East get killed. This is clearly something that's very near and dear to his heart. Abraham Lincoln said, you know, I'm not concerned about whether God is on my side. I'm concerned about whether I'm on God's side. And I think that is a good sort of guiding principle for any sort of politician. But gosh, this Pope has gotten so politicized. It seems like he only comments on Trump and this administration. Where was he when 30,000 Iranians were getting killed? I don't know why he always jumps in and has this little nudge to attack Trump when there's a lot of regimes to be very critical about.
It might be because he feels like somebody's abusing his faith. Pete Hegseth is...
Well, he's not Catholic. We're not claiming Trump or Hegseth.
I got you on that. Okay. But I mean, Pete Hegseth is the same person who's been pushing the military to violate rules of engagement, which would be another clear violation of international law. And he's trying to, literally, he said this. You want to doubt that? He said literally he doesn't want the military to follow these stupid rules of engagement. That's what he said. Are you smirking about that? Are you upset about that?
No, what I was going to say is, look, I'm not into a theological argument with the Pope. I feel like...
smart.
Well,
yeah.
Blessed are the peacemakers. But, you know, in my Bible, King David prays for his men. He prays for God to deliver victory. Joshua prayed for his men in battle, prayed for deliver victory. Moses prayed for his men, prayed to deliver victory. So it's hard for me to find fault for Pete for praying for his soldiers.
Well, let me just give you
Now let's talk about something that doesn't get examined nearly enough: the relationship between political identity and actual Christian teaching. The same movement that has made Christianity its central brand has spent years defending statements that would make most Sunday school teachers uncomfortable, mocking the misfortune of political opponents, dehumanizing language directed at immigrants, rhetoric that historians have compared to some of the darkest chapters in modern history. And when the Pope himself raises a moral objection, the response isn't reflection, it's pushback against the Pope from the self-described party of Christian values. Let that settle for a moment, because actual Christian teaching looks like care for the vulnerable, dignity for every human being, humility in the face of power. If those principles showed up on a political panel today, stripped of their context, a certain segment of commentators would call them radical, maybe even dangerous. And when someone gets cornered with a direct question about values, not policy, just basic human values, the deflection is almost automatic. Change the subject. Pivot. Hope nobody notices. At least one person at that table admitted it didn't sound good. And in a space where accountability has become almost extinct, even a reluctant concession stands out.
Officials who actually are chaplains, some of them, longtime norms are being upended by the proselytizing Christian campaign of Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, said multiple former high-ranking military officials and experts on religion and law. Rather than boosting cohesion through a more universal spiritual uplift, they say, the new approach violates the Constitution and undermines the bonds of mutual respect between troops that are essential, especially in wartime. And the story talks about, the core of people in the military who are people of faith, who are there to counsel and support troops of all different faiths, feeling like if they're not aligned with Pete Hegseth's version of faith, that there's no place for
Listen, the Pope is the Pope, right? So he's, the Pope should be calling for peace. The Pope should be calling towards immigrants. That's why he's in so much conflict with Trump. But I think that's what I, as a Catholic, expect of the Pope. I don't want a Pope that's calling for war. I want a Pope that's standing for peace. I mean, we should all aspire to peace, whether it's achievable or not. I don't know, but the Pope should be praying for it, and so should the Catholics.
I mean, I guess I would be more surprised if the Pope wasn't praying for peace. There's also
but I don't want to see the Hegseth, in charge of the Department of War, I hate calling it that, praying for more lethality and getting rid of rules of engagement and allowing soldiers who are not trained to do this anyway, but allowing soldiers to violate international law. I don't want to see that.
He's mentioned that Israel prevented the cardinal and the priest from celebrating Palm Sunday Mass at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre.
It was a security concern because
This is the
Jerusalem and
first
Israel
time.
has been
Okay, well, this is the
targeted.
first
We're in the
time.
midst
This is
of
a
war.
Catholic cardinal. I don't think there's anything to be
He later
insecure
came out and
about.
said this was a security
And this is the first
concern.
time in centuries that this does not happen, and it's a huge, significance.
I don't want to say apologize, but they tried to rectify it by allowing him.
I think
Who, the
we all,
Israelis?
we all
This wasn't-
benefit
They've
from
had
more
to do a lot of
clarity from the
apologizing
Secretary
this
of
week. They
Defense.
also had to apologize to the journalists,
That
right?
is true.
And this is the point that needs to be made more often. Using faith as a political weapon isn't new. When you attach ideology to something sacred, suddenly questioning it feels like an attack on faith itself. That's not spirituality. That's strategy. Here's the simple thought experiment that cuts right through it. What would the actual teachings of Jesus, feeding the hungry, welcoming the stranger, caring for the sick, what would those teachings make of the rhetoric being defended in Christianity's name today? It's not a complicated question. It just requires an honest answer. The Pope is the spiritual leader of over 1 billion Christians worldwide. When he speaks on human dignity, and someone's first instinct is to argue back, that tells you everything about whether this was ever really about faith. You don't need spin to make this point. The truth presented clearly is uncomfortable enough on its own. What are your thoughts on Christianity being used as a political tool in today's debates? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. That stuff really does help us out. Until then, this has been The Public Record. Thanks for watching.